Hello, good evening, and welcome. PAAVALI here with my co-host and guest for the week, Miss NEWLOVE.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. Thank
How are
you. How are you? Thank you for all for tuning in to the Health and Wellbeing Show brought to you by Diversity Radio. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube this week via the Diversity Radio platforms. To contact the studio direct on most weeks, please call 07951 4633338. That's 07951 4633338. But the phone lines sadly are not working today. We're going to try and get them working as soon as we can, but we'll move on and we'll mention the number throughout the program so you can call us in future shows. So to my guest and to my co-presenter for the week, Miss NEWLOVE, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm not too bad. It's nice to be behind to be leading the show again.
You're on the other end today.
I am. I know. I was a guest. I was a sit-in last week's show to your show, which was excellent.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll tell you a little, just briefly about myself in a minute. But how was your week first?
It's been quite hectic. I feel like I was here just 5 minutes ago.
And it does seem like it, doesn't it?
It's gone really quickly, hasn't it?
It's been a quick week, yeah. Yeah, it's been a busy week at work for me too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm just going to do a brief introduction of myself and my background, so listeners can gauge exactly who I am before as I'm talking.
Okay.
So basically, I work in the NHS background. I've worked in the NHS now for 35 years, and most of that has been as a support worker. But for the last 4 years, I've been a qualified nurse in mental health nursing. And all views that I will share in the show are mine and not guided by my trust that I work with. The experiences I share with you are what I have experienced, and you may experience these things in different ways. That shows individuality. Generally, any specialist information I provide will be backed up by evidence based on the most up-to-date evidence available. Also, best practice and researched by top scholars in their fields. Most, if not all, information, basically, that I have studied for articles for the programme may have been published in journals such as the BMJ, Nursing Times, and the Lancet, etc. On most occasions, I will keep much information generalised and which anyone can apply in their day-to-day life. Any written articles I do retrieve information from, I will either mention their sources, or if you want to know, you can message me and I will forward the sources on to you in case you wish you enjoy the piece and you'd like to read up a little bit more on that. If you have any concerns, experiences or questions, do contact us again via Facebook and YouTube, and we'll see how we go from there, basically. So this is my first show. I have got a bit of a radio background. Without going on too much, I first started. I've always loved radio and broadcasting through and through. And my first help was actually on not on the ship, but on a station called Radio Caroline, which many of you might have heard of. It was a pirate boat in the 60s, but since I've helped out, I was helping for 6 months while it actually was on land.
Oh, wow.
And I won't go into too much about that, but then basically fast forward a number of years, and I was a friend with a manager of another station, which was alongside Radio Caroline, Radio North Sea International. I was helping choose some songs for their presenters to play, and they would pick anything that they were interested in. And then fast forward until to about a couple of years ago, about a year before the COVID came, and I have a friend whose name is Lou, and she is a presenter up in the Manchester Bury area, and I would be guest co-presenter in her shows for a couple of times a year. And then the COVID came along. Obviously, everything was put aside. And then our good friend on station, Stella, who I work with, basically she said, Paul, there's this new project that's starting up in South London, this new show, the Health and Wellbeing Show on Diversity Radio. Would you like to get involved? And you'll be back behind the mic again. I thought, wow, yeah, brilliant.
And here you are.
And here I am. Some sort of 20 years after I first started helping out on radio. I have been in a studio. I have been behind the mic on the guest side, but now, for the first time, I'm behind the main mic here. But I thank you very much, Eva, for Miss NEWLOVE, for joining me here on the show tonight.
I had to come and cheer you on today.
Exactly. Yeah. Is it okay if you could just introduce a little bit about our charity that we're supporting, Bestel?
Definitely. So the Wellbeing Show is brought to you by Bestel Foundation. Bestel Foundation is a charitable organisation registered both in the UK and globally. Our main aim is to address the stigma of mental health within the Black African and minority ethnic communities, the BAME community, by raising awareness, providing interventions and supporting their well-being to the entire BAME community here in the UK and families around the world. Our values are to reach out to anyone who needs us. We are independent but stronger in partnerships. We listen, we act, and we never give up. Our action plan at Bestel Foundation, a community-based plan to promote and protect any persons affected with mental health and well-being experience, to exercise full range of human rights measures, quality health and social care, to attain the highest level of health recovery and to participate fully in society, to work in conjunction with healthcare professionals from the UK and diaspora to BAME, to work in conjunction with BAME communities on a To work in conjunction with healthcare professionals from the UK and diaspora to BAME communities on a rotation basis in assisting the general health and well-being care on a voluntary basis.
That sounds excellent. And
I made it through.
You did. That was excellent. Basically, considering you'd only just arrived in the studio about 5 minutes before the show started.
Literally just caught my breath.
You could be perfectly excused for that, yeah. And one thing I can just add into that is that in my role, as I've explained, that I work in the NHS for a number of years, that really plays a big part because equality and diversity plays an extremely big part of my role, and especially in my current role in the community that I'm in at the moment.
Okay.
And it's in the east of London, but it can apply anywhere really.
Yes.
Whether I practice in East London, South London, in Africa, in Australia, it's still the same principles. Obviously, each country will have its own laws, but equality and diversity, I think, covers such a wide range, and it's really, really good. So there's also a thing called surety, and the surety is to provide our maximum support to the health sector in the UK, Africa and around the world against any unforeseen circumstances such as health crisis, terrorist attack, effects of natural disaster, outbreak on diseases, among others. Our mission is to support mental health well-being in the UK and Africa through awareness, creation, sensitisation and education, to provide basic resources for day-to-day running and functioning of health and wellbeing facilities in the UK and Africa, and to provide and support organisations with medical training skills, training and workshops. The vision, our major long-term plan, is to build the first health and wellbeing recovery hospital in West Africa. So, to the goals will be to help strengthening effective leadership and governance for health and wellbeing, to enhance information systems and research for mental health, to advocate for better recognition in health and wellbeing development programs. What can Bestel do better? We can develop well-being policies and legislations that promote human rights. To train key stakeholders on the rights of people with disabilities, and to raise awareness and advocate for change.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So on to our strategic plans. To fit into national strategic programs of the Ministry of Health in Ghana, to initiate module project opportunities for various organisations in Africa, and to partnership with UK entities in mental health well-being. Bestel Foundation are committed to ensuring accessibility of its websites to the general public who are interested. The website is www.bestelfoundation.org. We're also on Facebook, Bestel Foundation. On Instagram, Bestel Cap, which is Bestel CAPH, and the same on Twitter, Bestel Cap CAPH. I'm going to have to ask Stella what the CAPH stands for. Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure. That's something I'm going to have to research on before the next show, yeah.
And also, we have a amazing Bestel team who are on call 24 hours. Stella, of course, who is our CEO and founder, her number is 07508 026641. We have Christabel on 0787 261 6366. Hilda on 07578 531710. And Marion on 07946 595 152. So at this stage of the show, it's very important for us to acknowledge our sponsors and partners who have been supporting Bestel Foundation every step of the way. They are South London and Maudsley NHS Trust, the National Lottery Fund, the Real Insight Consultant, Diversity Radio, of course. We're live on Diversity Radio here on Facebook and YouTube. 60 Seconds Creative Studio, Gold Diggers Talk Show, which is my very own talk show, and Base, Become a Successful Entrepreneur, which belongs to Jackie Obeng, who's my co-host as well. She's also part of Bestel Foundation.
And anyone who listened to the show last week will know that it was a very, very good show. And you say that was the first time you've really got in front of a radio.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever done radio, actually. I've done radio. I'm lying. I've done radio, but it was years ago. Yeah, at Voice of Africa. And that was on the weekends, but it was a very long time ago. So it's quite new again to me. So
that's okay, yeah. So that's okay, yeah. It's great. It's great that a community radio and local radio like this can promote all different talents, and it's great to have you on board as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here with you today.
That's right. Yeah. And also, I'd like to in addition to that, to add some really prominent names that we'd like to thank. For being our patrons and to be our supporters as well. There's Dr. Susham Gupta, who's a consultant psychiatrist and patron. There's Lauren Cunningham, who's a psychologist. Dr. Justina Siapatovska, who is a consultant psychiatrist. Nashiru Mamori, who's the Diversity Radio CEO. And George Besser-Simmons, who is the country coordinator for Ghana. And the entire Bestel team for their hard work and dedication. As we know, Jackie was here last week, and of course Stella was here in the studio with us last week, and she's gone out to Ghana now.
I think they're going on. Yes, they're going on Friday.
This week, the whole team. Yeah, that's correct. And we wish them all a safe journey, and hopefully a very enjoyable time and some great work out there. Yeah. So lastly, we would like to acknowledge Bestel's foundation patron, most of all, Mr. Peter Hassler. He's a mental health nurse and a former NHS director for nursing. He has been involved with Bestel Foundation now for 5 years. So a great charity that's I'm really happy to be part of now. So yeah. Okay, so so we are live here on Diversity Radio once again. I know we keep repeating this, but
it's very important.
It is for those of you who are tuning in to us last week for the first time or this week for the first time. So you know exactly where our platforms are and how to get in contact with us. So I know, sadly, Mixcloud and the telephone line is not up running tonight, but we'll be hopefully for the next show. But we on Facebook, YouTube tonight. And we will be here every fortnight on a Wednesday. I think it's either from around 8:15 to 9:15. Do not forget to follow the Bestel Foundation on all social media platforms, and visit our website as you just mentioned, bestelfoundation.org, Bestel Foundation, Bestel CAF. And please share this program with your friends and family. Let everybody know about the Wellbeing Show brought to you by the Bestel Foundation right here on Diversity Radio. Okay, I think at that point, since we've done quite a bit of talking already, we'll take a short interlude, and then when we come back, we'll come back and we'll do some brief introduction, and then I'll tell you a bit about the sort of questions that we can expect to receive, and what the support that we can give you on the show here. And then we'll move into three particular topic areas that I'd like to talk about this week, including answering of a question from last week's show that I was going to follow up a little bit more.
Yes.
Cool.
And just before we go to our interlude, we're actually changing our day to Tuesdays.
Oh, that's correct, yeah.
So we're going to let you guys know when we'll be going live on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays.
That's right. So I think you've got your show, you and Jackie are doing your show next week on Wednesday.
Yes. And then after that, I think we're rolling into Tuesdays.
I think we are, yeah. So we'll tell you more about that as the time comes, yeah. Okay, into the interlude, and we'll see you very soon. Okay, welcome back, and over to you, Miss NEWLOVE.
Yes, guys, you are listening to the Wellbeing Show, and I'm PAAVALI's co-host today. As he said, my name's Miss NEWLOVE. You're watching an interactive show, as we mentioned before. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so please feel free to join in our discussions, and from time to time we're going to have guests in the studio. PAAVALI's definitely going to have a lot of guests as we go along, clinical staff, medical professionals. That's all doctors and nurses. And
I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Okay, he's going to tell us about that.
I am,
And we are on Mixcloud, but not today. So please, if you do have Mixcloud on your phones, keep it on there. And also Diversity Radio have an app which you can download from the Apple App Store and the Play Store if you're on Android. So that's another way of tuning in, because straight away we're live instead of going into Facebook and all that palaver if you're not social media savvy. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So I'll move on to. I won't call this a disclaimer exactly, but just a bit of an understanding of the position that I'm in. I am. So it can give you some idea of the type of questions that I'll be able to answer if you have any queries around these lines. So I'd like to remind listeners that we are not medical specialists. I'm a qualified nurse and cannot make spot diagnosis over the phone, online, or on the air. On some shows, as from my next show, I'm indeed hoping to have some medical team colleagues with me, some who have done some radio and TV work, hoping. And I'm in the process of making contact with them, and hopefully they'll be the first ones will be in place for my next show in 2 weeks' time. They may be able to share their experience as well, whatever they're happy to discuss, and offer advice that they're happy to share that will not compromise their positions. So, yeah. So, as I say, I'm a nurse by background. So, anything to do with nursing,
you can answer.
I should hopefully be able to answer on the air. If not, and you can get through to us, then I'll answer on. I can answer on the spot. If not, with one of the questions I'm going to come to a bit later on, I will take the question away and I will do a bit of research on it, and I will come back and give you some feedback in the next show.
Okay.
Basically, so if you do want to contact me outside of the show, the easiest way obviously is Facebook. And I'm on Facebook.
You are?
As well. I am as PAAVALI Mears. Yeah. Okay. So you can message me there, and I can also
say that again so everyone can hear properly.
PAAVALI. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Yeah. PAAVALI. If you haven't seen the flyer. PAAVALI or PAAVALI. It's actually PAAVALI, but most people have said PAAVALI, and it's just caught on sort of thing. So I changed my Facebook name a little while ago, and I picked, because I'm studying Finnish at the time. Okay. So my Finnish name is PAAVALI.
Interesting.
So that's why I thought I'd use my pseudonym as PAAVALI. Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go. Yeah. Okay. So this evening, our topic of discussion will be a follow-up to last week's show. What is health and well-being, and what it means for you? So do let us know your thoughts. So basically, I didn't want to sort of repeat everything what you talked about, because what you discussed was pretty in-depth, and it was a great introduction to what is health. And so I thought I'd move on by picking one of the dimensions, because in my current role I work in the community, and I work with mental health service users or health and well-being, where we help them with their certain medications and treatments. Yeah. And so I thought we as well as the nursing care, we also look at social areas as well. So I thought it might be interesting to bring some issues in our life to do with social dimensions, and how that might affect us in society, really. Okay. And maybe we could have a little discussion around that, if that's okay with you.
Of course. I'm here for you. So just to remind the listeners what we discussed last week, we wanted to because the show is called the Wellbeing Show, we wanted to speak about what well-being is and, break it down. And well-being means the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. And we took the conversation deeper and broke it down to the 4 dimensions of well-being, which are social, emotional, spiritual, and physical. So we had, we kind of was in and out of all these dimensions last week.
We were.
And, towards the ending of the conversation, we spoke a lot about social wellness. And so that's where you're taking over from today.
So really, So I've actually researched read up a little bit about 3 pieces here, and I've got the references for this in case anybody's interested in the articles that I've actually picked. But I'm going to try and relate them to how we live and at the effect that it might have on an individual. Okay. So it could apply to the BAME community, but at the same time it could apply to anyone really. Yes. Because I'm going to look at things, generally, as well as for the BAME community. Yes. Yeah. So the first article comes from the WHO, the World Health Organization. Yes. And in the past 2 decades, the way we the way things have changed in society has changed dramatically, isn't it? whether it's digitization, globalization, migration, urbanization, climate change, resource scarcity, have resulted in certainly a much more dynamic and ever-growing world. In the health sector, the needs of the population, driven by different changes and expectations, rising costs of healthcare and in different innovative areas, and shortages of healthcare workers are challenges facing many countries. Given these developments, WHO realises that a new vision is needed to meet the challenges of this, and must be based on principle of international solidarity and a willingness to learn from others, both our successes and our failures. We need to take advantage of the new opportunities open to us, such as the digital revolution, and only in this way can we create a fair, safe and stable society. So, I mean, trying to put that all together, there are so many things that we can bring together that can affect us in so many ways. I mean, we're seeing I don't want to get too political, obviously, but we're seeing so much happening in society today, isn't it? I mean, as we go out, I mean, whether it be pollution or whether it be, you just walk down the street, I see so many things. I mean, it takes me sometimes half an hour, 3/4 of an hour to get to work in the day. I mean, can you talk about maybe some of the things that you maybe have seen as you are out and about? Anything that really hits out to you?
Well, there's a lot of things. You see a lot of accidents happening, a lot of roadworks.
Yeah.
What else? People fighting.
You can't.
Strangers just fighting, maybe bumping into each other, or there's so many things.
There is, and I've the one thing that I believe I'm very good at is showing empathy. And sort of having worked on a ward when I used to get new admissions to the ward that I had, whether it be from whatever population we got, one of the first things I'd like to used to do was to try and get a good engagement with whoever I was engaging with. Okay. So and then through that I would then be able, everyone could then get together and try to live in, share likes and dislikes. Okay. So everybody can get on and we can share different tastes and likes and that sort of thing. So for example, it might be a question of art, therapy. It might be a question of music. Okay. But in terms of the social thing that we that the WHO are highlighting, I think it's looking at sort of the sort of digitization, globalization, the internet, social media.
Oh, okay. I think because you said, what do you see when you're going to work? That's why I answered that question like that. But so now you're looking at it like holistically.
Everything.
I get you.
Because it's also mentioning climate change there as well. Mm-hmm. So sort of, I'm thinking of sort of the larger population as well. And how does that have an effect on us as well? Maybe. So. Yes.
Quite. A lot.
it can it? Yeah, but basically, so as we put that all together, I mean, we can. I think we all need to work together more closely to try to understand how everybody understands how things are changing like this. Maybe. Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm kind of understanding you. I'm trying to feel you. I'm trying to get into your zone, but
So
I do understand.
So what I'm trying to do here is try to relate the article that I've just read to how that might affect us, people in the community. And so if anyone's got any feelings of that, who wants to message us on Facebook or YouTube,
or at least tell us your understanding of what Paul has read and what he's trying to say. If you have a different understanding, let us know. Interact with us, guys.
Yeah. So, do you have any strong feelings about that? About the different approach that some of the things I was mentioning there around digitization, migration, climate change, resource scarcity. Does that mean something to you, really? If you've got a strong feeling about that, if you just want to message us, do let us know, and we'll see where we can move forward from that. Really, yeah. Okay, and then I thought I'd throw, because we're looking at the BAME community and particularly West Africa. Yeah, I thought I found this article from Elsevier from a couple of writers here, where a research.
And they're all Ghanaian.
They're all Ghanaian.
I can tell from the surnames.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah, so it's predominantly the research that was done here was done from West African perspective.
Okay.
But it's the transportation dimension again that I thought was quite interesting here as well.
Okay.
Data was collected from 310 households, then investigated the factors that influence subjective well-being among residents. The study shows that happiness for rural residents, just like in urban areas, is multidimensional and depends on household characteristics. The findings indicate that self-reported happiness varied significantly with gender, marital status, religious background, occupation and source of employment, as well as settlement type. Based on the model formulated, the study further found that the average level of happiness in the study communities was 4.9 on a scale of 0 to 10. The results of the ordinal regression indicate that respondents employed in the public service are happier than those who are self-employed. The transportation dimension was ranked as the most significant dimension, basically, because of the poor condition of the roads to these villages. The paper therefore recommends the improvement of major roads in rural areas, as good roads tend to contribute substantially to the overall well-being of rural dwellers in West Africa. So yeah, so that's I thought that was quite an interesting read for me to.
It's a very interesting read.
Yeah,
it can almost turn into a political conversation.
It could. I'll try not to get too political on that one. But again, do you have any strong feelings about that? Again, there may be small bits of that which you may agree or disagree with. We would like to. It would be interesting to know your feelings about that. So what I think I might do is just take another short interlude, if that's okay. Okay. And then I'll just get together before I bring you the third piece, which will lead into my question, a question that I was researching a bit from last week's show, if that's okay. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Amazing.
Right. So let's see if this works. Okay, welcome back, and I'm going to move into my third piece that I did a little bit of reading up on, and this is, as I say, this is going to move into the question that I was, someone, I believe you had a caller called Sari last week, who said that she didn't have many friends. What can I do? Yeah, so I thought that's something that I should know quite a bit about, actually, because having worked particularly in community nursing as a support worker and as a qualified now, that's something I should know very, very well. And actually, I've discussed this with some of my colleagues and some of my medic team as well. You know, and some of them have come out with some good ideas, actually. So I thought I'd share that with the group tonight.
That's where we left off last week.
Yeah, because not just for Sari, but for anyone who might be feeling in a similar position. Now, I'm going to touch on a bit nearer Christmas, because as I say, it's nearly that time of the year again, isn't it? Loneliness or isolation.
Very good. Yes.
So I thought this piece might lead quite nicely into my question from Sari, and then I'll give some examples of the areas that I was actually looking at. Yeah. So this, by the way, is from a writer, Julian Holt-Lundstad, from 2020. I tried the evidence pieces, by the way. Can I just add? Before I start this, is do try to make sure that the evidence pieces I pick are from the last 2 years.
So they're current.
When I was in my nurse training, they said always try to make sure the evidence is within your year or the last year, because it could be in some circumstances that some of the information in older pieces would be still good, but it's good if it's recent because it's up to date and
relatable as well. The listeners can relate to it.
Exactly, yeah. So a significant portion of the population may be affected by loneliness or social isolation. In 2018, national surveys performed by the Henry J. Kaiser Family Foundation, AARP, and Cigna examined the prevalence of loneliness, which they estimated to be 22, 35 and 47% respectively. Discrepancies may be a result of differences in sample composition and measurement. Even by the most conservative estimates, loneliness affects 1 in 5 adults. So what factors can potentially trigger loneliness or social isolation? In a 2019 National Loneliness Survey, mental and physical health problems, living alone or not living near family increased the likelihood of becoming lonely. Those who are dissatisfied with their family and social life are also more likely to report being lonely than those who are satisfied. In contrast, good social support, meaningful daily interactions, being partnered and low social anxiety are strong protective factors against loneliness. Factors that prevent people from engaging with others, such as long-term illness, disabilities, transportation issues, we were just talking about that a little while ago, unemployment or exposure to domestic or community violence may increase social isolation and loneliness. So, yeah, quite dramatic.
Yeah.
This is quite a powerful piece. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So social connection and isolation also significantly influence other major physical, mental and cognitive health outcomes. In physical health, the strongest evidence relates to cardiovascular health. Social connection and isolation even influence the probability of developing a cold, independent of baseline immunity. Demographics and health practices. Among mental and cognitive health outcomes, meta-analytic data support the influence of poor social connection on risk for depression, poorer cognitive function, and dementia. And I also should say that I do come from working with the dementia background as well. I've worked with older people for a long time. So
yes, I work with older people. Work for older people services.
Yeah.
So.
The service I work in now, we've got all different ages. But I started my nursing career as a support worker in a nursing home. And,
I've done support work with adults with learning disabilities, but I worked in a daycare centre.
Okay, that's excellent stuff. And you enjoyed it, yeah?
Yeah, I did. Did it for 8 years.
Okay, so you could see how health and well-being was very important to them as well.
Very important, because obviously we used to create the activities in the day centre, create support plans, care plans,
So what sort of...
And it was so important for them.
Yeah. What sort of activities would they be doing in the health centre?
Sensory. Some are sensory, depending on their disabilities. Arts, like painting, going out into the community. So the ones that were more, able-bodied would go swimming, go to museums. I mean, everything, like what we do, just try to make them have live as normal as possible. So, and independent activities. Yeah.
Promoting independence is a very big one.
That's it. That's the right word to use. Promoting independence in the community. So, that was a long time ago.
So I got up to social connection and isolation also significantly influence other major physical, mental and cognitive health outcomes. Oh yeah, I've got up to their dementia. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I lost where I was.
That's what we was talking about, working with older people.
Yeah. That's correct, yeah. Guidelines about social connection should be evidence-based. Subject to periodic revision as new evidence becomes available and take into consideration the structural, functional and quality components of social connection. Guidelines may include recommendations of frequency of social activity, for example, most days, as well as types, for example, face-to-face. Such guidelines can form the basis of federal social policy and programs, help guide local, state and national health promotion and disease prevention initiatives, and inform various organisations and industries that develop and market products and services to influence sociality there. So yeah, so there's some good stuff, and that looked a really, really interesting piece.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy listening to those three pieces, and you want to read up on them a little bit more, as I say, I have got the references attached to the program that we're doing today. So just message us at the station, or message me, PAAVALI Mears, on Facebook, and my engineer Joe just getting very excited in the background there. You just send me a message, and I can forward on the references to you, and you can read up. We can read up from there. Yeah. Okay.
Let's get into the juicy bit. Let's talk about how social wellness and how we can meet people.
Exactly, that's what I'm going to come on to now. So the section we're going to come on to is interaction with the listeners. So under normal circumstances, we now say we'll be taking calls from callers, but sadly the phone line sadly is not sadly working tonight. But I can still give you the phone number again for future shows: 07951 463 338. That's 07951 463 338 there. So we have to remind listeners that you can contact the Bestel Foundation via their website and social media platforms, which we mentioned a couple of times already tonight.
Yes, please follow Bestel Foundation.
Yeah,
very important.
The number already. I want to move on to last week we had a call or a text from someone called Sari, who I believe had a question. I don't have many friends. How can I improve that? So I had a little chat with some of my colleagues and some of my friends and that sort of thing, and I've come out with some couple of good ones, and we can just go into a couple of them if see how we go. So the first one is social media. So
yes.
So that's
it's a risky one, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
What's your feelings on meeting people on social media? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I've met a couple of new people on social media. Some good, some mixed. But it's how confident you feel about going onto social media. Yeah. If you've got social media, you might want to consider that. But I've got a lot of other things here as well. So next one is your GP can often recommend decent places. You can go to the park, go to a cafe. If you go out, just have a drink of coffee or something like that, and you can meet people there. But
what about like going to the park and going to the GP, or just like maybe Sari's the type of person who isn't confident in approaching people. How do you approach people in those type of environments? How do you start conversation?
So small icebreakers, maybe. So maybe you might have like neighbours who might be able to just help with. Is there anybody that she is friends with at the moment? Okay. That maybe just be able to introduce a friend or something like that. Or,
no, what I'm saying is that if you're in a park or if you're in a cafe and you don't have confidence, how would you approach people, or how would you get someone's attention, because not everyone has the confidence to do that. No,
again, that's something I need to go into a little bit
Sorry to put you on the spot. I just want
that's okay. But basically one of the golden things I was asked, I've learned about that is maybe small short icebreakers.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't need to go into long
without people thinking
Yeah.
Like you're crazy or something.
No.
Like how would you say you're in a cafe and
hello. Yeah.
Okay, for instance, say you're in a cafe and there's a lady sitting opposite and you want to get her attention. How would you get her attention?
I would probably go in and say, would you like a coffee?
Okay, so you just do that. You just be like,
just a little, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've just come in for a coffee. Would you like one? Yeah.
Wow, straight to the point. Okay.
So, yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my experience. Yeah. I've done that before. And
why I'm asking is because you know I want us the listeners to know.
No.
See, we want to give realistic solutions, not just say, okay, go to the park, go to the GP. But you know,
I tell you one thing that I have found that has been very, very good actually. When I've told you about my friend colleague who was up in who does a radio station up in Manchester area. Yeah, I tell you what happened to me while I was up there. Yeah, which got me quite a lot of new friends up there while I was there. Yeah, and I was scared when I went into this cafe for the first time. Yeah, it was a cafe like record shop type place. Yeah, so I went in, I got a coffee, I sat down, and then the two people sitting near me actually had similar. Were talking about something that I was quite interested in.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I just sort of chipped in with the conversation as well.
You jumped in.
And I jumped in.
I do that occasionally.
Yeah, but it was I had to wait until they were talking about something that I actually I could interact with, something which we both had in common.
I understand.
But then on the next day, I went into the same cafe and it was quite quiet, so I didn't get anyone. And then on the third day, it's the same thing. I went in, a couple of coffees, and I met someone who was talking about something, in relation to one of my interests that I had. So that's probably, I found that one of the easiest ways of doing it. Yeah.
So we have someone online, Andrew Che, who says, "Does social media provide an organic source for relationship building?"
No. I think, so there are some social media platforms, there are some sites which do support that. I think it's just a question of Googling and searching, but I'm not sure of the actual names of them myself. That may be something I need to get into again. I'll take note of the question and maybe I'll get back to you on either I'll forward the answer on to you next week or I'll bring it in for my next show.
Yeah, I think maybe he's saying that because he could be skeptical, or I mean, people are quite especially now.
Yeah, I think
nowadays I think people are quite skeptical of,
because you're not sure who you might be able to make because of things going on, which I won't talk about individual stories to get too political, but they're in case anything does go wrong, basically. So I do fully understand that, some of the things I've got down here actually is if you actually had that little bit of effort to actually get out the house, so I think most of these things are
so community groups
was one of the best ones that it came out with, so
and join a trivia team. So what's that, just to break it down?
A trivia team, I think it's similar to sort of pub quizzes type thing, but something in relation to something that you might enjoy, so think about what you might enjoy. Maybe Google, if you've got the internet, Google your interest, trivia team, and then you might find groups out there that
snooker,
might be snooker, might be a sport.
Pool.
Yep, and that's another thing I've got here: sports clubs, sports and gym. Yeah. Do you like sports? Yeah.
Well, I do occasionally go to the gym. I try.
Yeah.
But sports is an interesting one. I think that's a really good way of making new friends because you have an interest. So I think, like you said, the trivia team. Joining a trivia team is quite a good way to meet people if you're trying to come out of your shell and isolation. I think that's a good way of, because then you have an interest. Then meeting people in the park, or I mean, there's so many that it's not. I'm not saying one is bad or one is better than the other, but I think the easiest way is finding people that have a similar interest as you.
I think that's the key to begin it, because then once you've started meeting a few people who have got a similar interest to you, then that might lead to something else, and then you developing different interests, and then so start off with something simple. Don't make it too big, and who knows,
or something that you might want to, like a new skill you might want to learn.
Absolutely. And this is another good one which I particularly quite like because I like walking. Walking groups.
I noticed there's quite a few walking groups on Instagram that I came across, like Mother mother groups, groups for mothers. Like, so if you have a child and you're feeling lonely, you don't have friends, there's quite a lot of groups for mothers where you can take long walks and get to know other mothers.
And some of them don't need to be big groups. So if you don't like too many people, some walking groups have only a few people in them.
Yeah.
So you can pick and choose the area you want to go to if you want to stay local, if you don't want to venture out too far.
And over the pandemic, I realised there was a lot of cycling groups that were created.
Yeah.
A lot of cycling groups.
There's been a lot of cycling, hasn't there?
Yeah, a friend of mine started a cycling group for black women.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they were featured in The Guardian, on the BBC.
Good one.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting.
So that all comes under sports.
And social wellness.
And so, exactly, yeah, because that will improve your health and social well-being. Exactly, yeah. I've put pubs down there, but yeah.
Pubs you know what?
Yeah.
Well, my daughter's in the studio, so I don't really want to expose myself. But yeah, I really do like going to the pub,
Yeah, I mean, just because you go to the pub doesn't mean you got to drink.
No,
you can
but
have a Coke
and a good meal. I like fish and chips. I really like a good, and a good roast dinner.
Yeah,
as well. And you also get to watch football.
Yeah,
boxing.
Yeah,
it's a good way to meet people.
It is.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way to meet people.
Yep, you can go in, have a soft drink, join the pub quiz if you like quizzes, and that's where you can meet friends as well. Yeah,
and there's different types of pubs as well. So
yeah.
There's different types of pubs. So
there are indeed. Yeah, make friends with co-workers. Okay, so
that's also a good one.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in employment, and you've got a colleague who you particularly like or you get on well with, maybe they can introduce you to someone. They might know someone who might be able to get on with you. So that's good. Dating sites. So I know you touched.
You had a big grin on your face.
I know you touched on this. I've been on a few dating sites before. I'm not going to lie about that. Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you what the results of that was.
There's quite a lot, isn't there? I'm not a big fan of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm quite skeptical about dating sites, but but I mean. I've heard a lot of good stories. I do have a cousin who actually met her husband from a dating website. So that's a good way. But what stands out for me is making friends with co-workers, because I've made really good friends from various places that I've worked, and you've obviously made friends. You wouldn't be here if you didn't make a friend at work.
That's right. And
so you're a perfect example of becoming friends with your co-workers.
Exactly. Oh yeah, because when I left school, I was very, very shy, and I was really terrified when I would really get out. But coming into nursing has really helped me. So giving you some ideas here. But everyone that I put this question to, I didn't mention any names, by the way, when I talked to friends about this. I just put the question to them. Yeah. Okay. For confidentiality reasons, But the one thing that all of them come up with was the one same thing on here, yeah? And although I put it on the bottom line, it doesn't make a difference, yeah? Become a volunteer.
Yes, that's also a good thing.
It can be as part of your work, or it can be, if you're not working, you can have a look around, Google places that are looking for volunteers, and you can get seek friendship that way. Get a pet.
That's another thing.
That's another thing. Yep. So
do you have a pet?
I have had pets in the past. Not at the moment. No, but I've had a dog. I've had a cat. I've had a cat that was terrified of a dog that was terrified of the cat. Yeah. I've had 2 hamsters, and they're the pets I've had. But you can have a dog. You can have a cat. If you have a dog, you want to take it out for a walk. That's
another way of meeting people.
Exactly, because you might meet other dog walkers or other pet walkers in the park or while you're out there. Further education.
Yes,
it's another one. So I know even in my trust we have developments for everyone to be able to seek further education. In their lives, so that's something that's definitely might be up your alley, particularly if there's something you've wanted to study further. So that might be something you want to look down. Local events. So for that, you could just look in the local paper, really.
Yeah, or go to a party. I mean,
Yeah,
in our culture, people like to party. You know,
Yep.
a good christening, a good wedding,
Yep.
sometimes a good funeral. You know,
Yeah.
a funeral.
Yeah, I actually have to say, I'm gonna tell you a little story here now. Yeah, that actually, while we're on the focus of West Africa and Africa as well, yeah, that actually, I took part a couple of years ago. I took part in my ward's Christmas party, yeah,
Okay.
and I was the DJ.
Oh wow.
And they asked me to be the DJ, yeah. Anyway, so I was the one that picked the music, and I put my reputation on the line from picking the stuff that people actually liked, and actually it went down very well. And actually, some of the songs from I picked songs from all around the world, from different communities, including some of that of West Africa as well. I had West Africa, South Africa, Australia, Brazil. So I picked, and yeah, some of it went down, and everybody got up dancing.
Nice.
Where from, no matter what culture they were, yeah. So yeah, local events and go on guided tours.
I've only done that once, and it's really. I did that actually this summer, and it was really nice on the River Thames.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I got a tan because it was a really hot day. But yeah, that was the first time, and you do actually interact with people on the boat as well, which was quite interesting.
Yeah. So as you can see, there are a number of things here. So we've had social media, GP, park, cafe, community groups, internet, join a trivia team, gym, book club. Yeah, that's another one. Walking groups, make friends with co-workers, pubs, dancing. I don't think we've touched that one yet. Dancing, go to a dancing club. Sports clubs, dating sites, become a volunteer, get a pet, further education, local events, and go on guided tours there. Maybe you've got other ideas as well. Maybe you've come up with some other options. You can let us know here on Diversity Radio. You're in tune with PAAVALI and my special guest, Miss NEWLOVE, on the Health and Wellbeing Show this Wednesday evening. So if you've got any comments, do message us at Diversity Radio on the Facebook,
we got to remind the listeners.
We have to remind listeners now.
Yes.
We're going to move into the summary now. Yeah, and we'll remind listeners about. Do you want to start, Ms. NEWLOVE?
Yeah, just to remind you guys to follow us on social media. I know we keep repeating it, but it's very important. And also all the information about Bestel is on the website, www.bestelfoundation.org. Bestel's also on Facebook as Bestel Foundation, on Instagram as Bestel Child Adult. I think Stella was telling me what that stood for, but I can't look at my phone and read at the same time. So Bestel Cap, CAPH, and on Twitter as well, Bestel CAPH. We're live it's soon to be Tuesday, but for next week and just for next week on Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. I'll be back with Jackie Obeng, who is a teacher in business and economics and also the CEO of BASE. And also don't forget to download the app, the Diversity Radio app. If you're on Android, it's Google. No, if you're on Android, it's... Hold on.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you're on Apple, if you're on iPhone, it's the App Store. And if you're on Android, it's the Play Store.
Okay, that's excellent. Yeah, and once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors and partners who have been supporting the Bestel Foundation every step of the way. Once again, they are South London and the Maudsley NHS Trust, the National Lottery Community Fund, the Real Insight Consultant, Diversity Radio, 60 Seconds Creative Studio, Gold Diggers, which you do as well, Miss NEWLOVE, yeah, and Become a Successful Entrepreneur base there. And I will just briefly mention some of our great contributors and friends here on the station as well. Dr. Susham Gupta, who's the consultant psychiatrist and patron, Lauren Cunningham, that's the psychologist, Dr. Justina Siapatovska, who is a consultant psychiatrist, Nashiru Mamori, who is Diversity Radio CEO, and George Besser-Simmons, who's the country coordinator for Ghana, and to the entire Bestel team for their hard work and dedication there. Okay, so lastly, we would like to acknowledge Bestel Foundation's patron, Mr. Peter Hassler there. Okay, so before I start winding down and wrapping up by looking at your show next week, if I may, Miss NEWLOVE. Do you have the subject?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about abuse and the different types of abuse. We're not going to go into it, but we're just going to,
give a broad overview of the different types
of abuse, because some people just think abuse is domestic or abuse is emotional, but there's actually quite a few.
There are quite a few, yeah.
So we're going to be talking about abuse. Quite an interesting subject, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to one type of abuse or the other. So, yeah.
And that plays a very important part in my job as well. So I'll certainly be listening into that, because we I'm sure you know, in the health service we do safeguarding quite a lot, and it's all around that. I won't go into that too much, but basically, there are so many different types that that's very much worth listening. So that's next Wednesday, and that's from 8:15 to 9:15.
Yes, and before we end, we just like to acknowledge Mr. Andy Che for his endless efforts in helping Bestel Foundation receive funding. So that's Mr. Andy Che.
Mr. Andy Che? Che.
Am I even pronouncing it right? I hope I am. Yeah. Yes, Andy Che. So he has really helped Bestel over the last 5 years, get funding. If we don't get funding, we can't do things like this. We can't do our community work.
Exactly, yeah. So, well, thank you and well done, yeah. So, we are almost at the end of today's show. So I'm going to be back in 2 weeks' time, and I will be back with another topic. And I do believe, if I can remember correctly, I will be looking at anxiety. As I say, if you want to message any other areas of health and well-being, do still message me with message the studio, message with whatever concerns you got. But I'll be particularly focusing on anxiety, because having worked in community as a support worker and a qualified nurse, this is one thing that has come up a number of times. It can be just from sort of mild, moderate to where you need full treatment. So, but as I say, I'm a nurse, not a medical, as I mentioned earlier, and I hope to have a guest from one of my friends, one of my work colleagues. Hopefully, will be joining me for that. Yeah. So I do believe it's coming up for nearly 9:15, and to the end of today's show. So thank you very much, Miss NEWLOVE.
Oh, you're welcome.
And of course, thank you very much, everyone out there, for joining us today.
Thank you for your research. That was quite. It was a lot, but I kind of understood where you was coming from with it.
Yeah. So what I was trying to do with the research was actually try to read the pieces that I found enjoyable to read, but try to relate that to health and well-being as well. Not just read it and
I understand.
Say that. So I tried to apply it on the spot. So, okay, right. So once again, thank you all for joining us on Diversity Radio, the Health and Wellbeing Show. I'll be back with you in 2 weeks' time. It'll be the Tuesday.
Yeah, it's the Wellbeing Show.
Wellbeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wellbeing.
The Wellbeing Show.
Diversity Radio Wellbeing Show. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, you've done an amazing job. Thank you, Paul.
This is my first.
PAAVALI.
This is my first show leading in the studio behind the mic for the first time. So thank you for your support and for your understanding, and hopefully my shows will get even better and better as the time goes on. And thank you all for tuning in. And hopefully next week we'll have the phone lines up and running for you as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.